Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending where you are joining us in the world today. And welcome to another Decrypting Crypto and Breakout Solutions news live stream. So in today's show, we're going to be looking at what we usually do is we look at news updates, we look at the market update, we look at Twitter highlights, and we look at adoption highlights. Now, today we actually have a lot of great news coming out around crypto and Bitcoin. So I'm actually really excited today to share with you guys all the great news. And I thought today's intro video was quite relevant to today because it feels like even though Bitcoin has had so much fun over the last year and a half or so, it's really now starting to shine, and we're going to show you some great news articles and great things that have happened over the past few days. So let's get started. And first of all, we have breaking news, and I hope it slows up. Yeah, there it is. Okay, our first news is Kennedy, and he is now accepting campaign donations in Bitcoin. This is the first time ever in the history of America that a president or candidate for presidency is actually accepting campaign donations through Bitcoin and through the Lightning Network. He actually gave a really good speech at the Bitcoin conference. So if you haven't seen that, get on YouTube and just type in Robert F. Kennedy Bitcoin speech at Bitcoin conference. Anyway, so he had in that speech, he spoke about the power of Bitcoin, the power of crypto, the power of decentralization, and how it's a tool for democracy and gives people freedom and so forth. So he goes on and he says to the world, he goes, "Today we show the world the power and the durability and the flexibility of Bitcoin. Almost everyone in this room is aware of the line between Bitcoin and democracy and freedom. They're passionate because of the deep representation of the deep need that we have for liberty and democracy and the promise that this innovation has to guarantee those virtues." So it was a really big speech from him, very pro crypto. And he even goes on and says, just as biodiverse ecosystem is a resilient ecosystem, so too will our economy be more resilient if it has a diverse ecology of currencies, not a single centrally controlled one. We are seeing today how fragile our over-centralized system is. So he seems to be very pro crypto, very pro Bitcoin, which is actually making a lot of headways in America because even from like last year, the year before, a lot of Americans are talking about that the next presidency is going, or the next election, cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin are going to have a big weighing in there on as an issue that needs to be addressed by the government in America. What we're seeing right now in America with all the chokehold they're trying to put on crypto businesses and exchanges and et cetera. A lot of people don't like it, and you're going to see in some other news we're going to talk about today. Some companies actually leaving America to go to El Salvador and other countries because they are crypto friendly. So this is pretty big, and it's going to be a very big election issue, I suppose, for the election coming up. And this guy is going up against Biden, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I hope he doesn't end up like his uncle, John F. Kennedy. So he is his nephew, by the way. Okay, now next up, okay, we have another great news. And if you guys have been hearing for a while now, I believe that the next bull run, we're going to start seeing countries, more and more countries adopting Bitcoin. You guys will have seen. Okay, we're back. A country by the name of Bhutan has revealed they've been mining Bitcoin since 2019, and more countries are now starting to show their move towards Bitcoin and crypto. Now, recently, the president of Indonesia has actually put out a warning to all the people of Indonesia not to use MasterCard, not to use Visa, because it's controlled by the IMF, controlled by the World Bank. They're all part of the traditional financial system. So this made some headways around the world a couple of months ago, and I spoke about this, and we actually mentioned this on this show. So now governor of Indonesia's province of West Java, Ridwan Kamil, and the prominent Bitcoin global advocate and Jan 3 CEO Samson Mao revealed in a fireside chat titled "The Indonesian Bitcoin Mining Campaign." So basically, this is again at the Bitcoin conference. So a lot of stuff coming out of the Bitcoin conference right now. This is why there's obviously so much positive news, because obviously you're going to get positive news out of Bitcoin conference, right? So what the governor explained to Samson is that Indonesia is being really setting itself up as a massive opportunity for companies that want to use renewable energy. So they've got over 800. They're the world's second most they're the world's second largest geothermal energy provider in the world, or a potential to have the world's second largest geothermal energy that comes from volcanoes. And it also has over 800 rivers with hydropower. So this is now creating a perfect opportunity for miners to go over there and build their mines and mine Bitcoin, because they can actually get almost like they get dirt cheap electricity. And this is a big incentive for miners, because the cheaper the electricity that they have, which is their biggest cost, the cheaper it is for them to be able to mine Bitcoin. And therefore, again, like we said over and over again, Bitcoin actually advocates and promotes environmentally friendly electricity. So basically, now we're saying that there's 12 million cryptocurrency investors in Indonesia, with 70% of them are invested in Bitcoin. So there's a lot of opportunity, and now they're trying to position Indonesia as a hub, and they've also passed positive crypto bills and other things in the country to make it more attractive for Bitcoin businesses to come to Indonesia. So this is also big news. Next up, we've got former PayPal president dedicates his entire life to Bitcoin development. So former President David Marcus has showcased his enthusiasm about blockchain technology again, stating that he will spend the rest of his life building on Bitcoin, specifically the Lightning Network. So more and more people are starting to realize that Bitcoin is where the work has got to be. There's so many ways you can do payment gateways. There's so many things that people can do on the Bitcoin network that's going to help propagate this. And these people are leaving their jobs to dedicate their life to working on this. So we're definitely in pioneering times. So interesting times ahead. All right, let's have a look at the market update now. All right, last week, a few things in the green. I don't know why it's so slow, but we have seen Hex go down by 28.1%. Where's Pepe? I can't even see Pepe on here. I know they've lost quite a bit. I don't know. XRP's up. RNDR is up 45%. I don't know what that is. Engine, HT, Cover. There's a mix of red and green in the market at the moment. Also looking at the Bitcoin and Ethereum the past 24 hours, we're starting to see that Bitcoin is now up by about 1.7%. It did go down a little bit, and then it's come back up again. So it's going to be testing. It's been playing around that 25 and 30,000 range. So we'll see what happens with that coming up. Ethereum is also up by 2.5%. BNB 3 is up by about 2%. Moving over to the Fear and Greed Index, we are right smack back in the middle, bang in the middle of the Fear and Greed Index, right at neutral. Moving on to the Twitter highlights for today. Okay, where are we? Here we go. Okay, so Twitter highlights we've got here from the Sky News breaking President Joe Biden speaking of the final day of the G7, saying, "I'm not going to agree to a deal that protects wealthy tax cheats and crypto traders while putting food assistance at risk." So this is him attacking crypto again. We know that Joe Biden is very anti-crypto. You can see what's happening in America with the SEC. But he's actually, like, this is a bit of an upgrade, because, crypto traders used to be Ponzi schemes and thieves. Now they're up there with the wealthy tax cheats. So interesting to see what's happening over there in America. Next up, we have from Crypto Crunch app. This in several news outlets were fooled by an AI generated image of an explosion at the Pentagon, and the stock market and Bitcoin both temporarily dropped as a result. So this is what's happening these days, guys. Like at the moment, because of AI and everything that, like, we don't even know what's real, what's not real on the internet anymore. A large businesses or large news outlets have actually been fooled by this AI generated photo, and this actually affected the share market. So it's very, very scary what's happening out there, to be honest, with the AI stuff. But we'll see where it takes us. Next up, we've got Watcher Guru. Texas Senate passes bill requiring crypto exchanges to provide proof of reserve. Now, Texas has been very, very pro crypto in their legislation. And now they've moved legislation that forces exchanges to be able to prove proof of reserve. And what those exchanges have to do is they have to make sure that they have one-to-one for their liabilities to their customers. So if they own, they owe their customers, or their customers are holding, say, $1 billion worth of Bitcoin or $100 million worth of Bitcoin, then they must have $100 million worth of Bitcoin in reserves ready to give to those customers at any time. This is much better than what the banking system ever was, and never will be. So if they start holding these exchanges to do this becomes regulation, they actually become very, very safe. So, if that's the regulation, this is good regulation because this actually does protect the end user. After what happened with FTX and they collapsed and they commingled funds and they used customer funds, etc. Now we're saying, no, you can't do that. This is customer funds and they can't be used, and exchanges have to find other ways to fund themselves. So this is a great initiative by Texas, which is showing to be a very, very prominent pro-crypto state in America. Moving on to our adoption highlights, the last but not least, but again, a lot of great news here. So first up, we've got IBEX Mercado, a Bitcoin Lightning payment service provider, has launched a new with Grupo Salinas, one of the largest corporate conglomerates in Mexico. And now over 4 million Mexicans can pay with Bitcoin, their cable, their internet, and phone services by IBEX. So this is a big move in Brazil. Now 4 million people who are using this company can pay by Bitcoin for their cable, their internet, their phone service. As you guys know, Latin America, I've spoken very, very highly or a lot about Latin America and saying that adoption there is so huge. And we're starting to see this. We're starting to see it all over the global south, Latin America, Asia, as we guys saw with Indonesia today. Africa, as we've been speaking about in a lot of places like South Africa and a few other places. Next up, we have another one, another payment gateway. So Strike moves global headquarters to El Salvador, expands to 65 countries. So Strike is another payment gateway that's built on the Lightning Network. And the owner of Strike is Jack Mallers, who's actually the owner or the creator of Twitter. So he's the ex-CEO of Twitter before what's his name, Elon Musk. And he sold to Elon Musk, obviously, and got out. And now he's focusing on Strike and Bitcoin. And now he's moving his company to El Salvador, outside of America. And the reason for that is because the American government is choking so many people in so many crypto businesses. The SEC is causing so much issues. And he actually mentions this in an interview where he actually says, where is it? Over here. So 2 years ago, people would have made fun of me for our headquarters in El Salvador to launch a product for 3 billion people. But now Coinbase is fighting with Gary Gensler, he said, who's laughing now. So this is all in direct response to what America is doing to the crypto. It's going to cripple them if they don't change. This is why this goes back to what Robert F. Kennedy was saying about him becoming crypto friendly and whatnot. This is going to be a good move for America. Otherwise, they're losing control. Last but not least, we've got Binance provider in Brazil gets payment institution approval. So Binance partner Latam Gateway has now been granted a license to operate as a payment institution and electronic money issuer in Brazil. This is again more great news for Latin America and Brazil. So that's 2 out of Brazil now. We've got the Lightning Network moving over there, and now 4 million people, can pay for their bills. We've got Binance, who now got approval through their partner to be able to have on ramp and off ramps. This is huge news, guys. This is what we're talking about. This is why this year is the year to be accumulating. There's so much good news happening out there that next year's bull run. Like, I honestly think if you look at what's happening, like the amount of adoption in Brazil, the amount of adoption in Indonesia, how open they are. There's an Indonesian Bali, there's a Bali Bitcoin conference that's happening in October. So there's a lot of activity around crypto in Indonesia, and that's just down the road from us here in Australia. Then you've got everything that's happening in Africa. There's a lot happening. I think next year, when we have the bull run, we're going to have an amazing, amazing bull run. And I honestly believe that we'll probably have some countries, and this is my personal opinion, obviously, in my own thought, I think there's going to be more and more countries adopting Bitcoin in the next bull run as legal tender. That's it for me, guys. Have a great week, and I shall see you guys. Actually, I may not see you guys on Friday. It'll probably be Maddie. I've got a 3-day event that I'm going to tomorrow. As of tomorrow, if I'm not here on Friday, I'll see you guys next week. Have a great week. Peace out.